Veltar's crystal body hummed softly as the medical machines finished their work. His 6 limbs moved slowly, testing each joint. The pain was gone, but the memories remained. 3 months had passed since the battle at Proxima Ridge, and the war. Doctors said he was lucky to be alive. The room was white and clean like everything else on Harmony Point. This neutral station floated between Coalition space and human territory. Veltar had asked to come here. He could not go home. Not yet. Not until he told the truth about what happened. A small recording device sat on the table next to his bed. The Catherian High Council wanted his report. They wanted to know what really happened when their forces met the humans for the first time. They thought they knew the story already. They were wrong. Veltar pressed the record button with one of his crystal fingers. His voice came out as musical tones that the translator changed into words. This is War Correspondent Veltar reporting from Harmony Point Medical Center. The Council has asked me to give my account of the Proxima Ridge campaign. What I am about to tell you will be hard to believe. I did not believe it myself until I saw it with my own eyes. He stopped and looked out the window. Human ships moved through space near the station. They were smaller than Coalition ships and looked rough. But Veltar knew better now. Those ships had beaten the greatest fleet the Coalition had ever built. The way. Briefing room on the CNS Victory was full of confidence that day. He continued. Admiral Zektar stood before the holographic display, pointing at the human colonies with one of his 4 arms. The humans had spread to 12 worlds in just 50 years. Fast for such a young species, but not impressive to us. Veltar remembered how the other reporters had laughed. The humans had only had faster-than-light travel for 60 years. The Catherians had been flying between stars for 3,000 years. The humans were like children playing with toys. Admiral Zektar told us the humans would surrender quickly. They had to. Our fleet had 200 ships. Intelligence said the humans had maybe 30 ships total. Simple math, he said. We would show up, they would see our power, and they would join the Coalition peacefully. The crystal being's body dimmed as he remembered. We were so sure of ourselves. 7 species had joined the Coalition without a fight. The humans would be the 8th. Why would they choose war when they could choose peace? He looked at his reflection in the dark window. His crystalline form was scarred now. The doctors had fixed the cracks, but the marks remained. Like his memories. I had covered 12 peaceful integrations before this one. They all followed the same pattern. We would arrive, show our technology, offer membership in the Coalition, and the new species would accept. There would be celebrations, trade agreements, and cultural exchanges. I was there to document another success story. Veltar's voice became quieter. The first sign that something was different came when we reached the outer edge of human space. There were no diplomatic messages, no requests for talks. The humans just told us to leave. One message, broadcast on all frequencies. You are not welcome here. Turn around and go home. Admiral Zektar laughed. He said all young species acted tough at first. He ordered the fleet to continue toward the first human colony. Kepler 442b was a mining world with maybe 50,000 people. It should have surrendered the moment our ships appeared. The reporter's body flickered with remembered emotion. I was on the observation deck of my press ship when we came out of faster-than-light travel. Kepler 442b floated before us, a brown and gray world with small cities scattered across its surface. Our sensors showed human ships in orbit, 12 of them. 12 ships against 200. The humans had to know they could not win. Any rational species would have asked to talk. Instead, they opened fire. Veltar stood up and moved to the window. A human cargo ship was docking at the station. Its hull was painted with bright colors and strange symbols. Human writing he now knew. He had learned to read some of it during his recovery. The human ships moved like nothing I had ever seen. They did not follow proper battle formations. They did not try to protect their larger ships with smaller ones. They just attacked. Every ship headed straight for our battle line at full speed. I watched through my camera feed as a human destroyer, a tiny ship compared to our dreadnoughts, rammed straight into the side of the CNS Judgment. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire. I could not understand it. Why would they throw away a ship and crew for one attack? The crystal being's reflection looked tired. Admiral Zektar was shouting orders, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. The humans were not fighting like any species we knew. They were not trying to win. They were trying to hurt us as much as possible before they died. Then the second wave of human ships arrived. I learned later that their commander was someone named Admiral Hyun. 20 more ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel right in the middle of our formation. They had jumped blind into a battle zone. That should have been impossible. No sane commander would risk it. Veltar returned to his bed and sat down heavily. But Admiral Hyun was not trying to be sane. Her ships opened fire in all directions the moment they appeared. 3 coalition ships were destroyed before we even knew what was happening. The humans were broadcasting something on all frequencies, music, battle songs. I had never heard anything like it. The sound was wild and fierce. It made my crystal body vibrate in a way that felt dangerous. Later I learned it was something humans called heavy metal music. They were singing about war and death and glory as they died around us. The reporter looked at the recording device. The small red light blinked steadily, capturing every word. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 32 human ships were destroyed. We lost 18 ships and had another 40 damaged. By the numbers, we had won. But it did not feel like victory. Admiral Zektar was pale when he addressed the fleet afterward. He said the humans had fought bravely, but foolishly. He said they would learn to be more reasonable when they saw the cost of defying us. He ordered the fleet to continue to the next human world. Veltar's voice grew softer. I did not sleep that night. I kept thinking about what I had seen, the way that human destroyer had aimed straight for our biggest ship, the way Admiral Hyun's forces had jumped into certain death without hesitation, the music they had played as they fought. Other species fought for territory, or resources, or survival. The humans seemed to be fighting for something else, something I did not understand. They fought like they wanted to prove something to themselves. The crystal being touched one of his scars. I requested permission to transfer to a ship that would take part in the ground campaign. I told my editors I wanted to get the full story of humanity's integration into the coalition. I thought if I could understand how humans lived, I could understand how they fought. Admiral Zektar approved my request. He said I would see how quickly humans surrendered once they faced coalition ground forces. He was confident that the space battle had been a fluke. Humans were just reckless in space, he said. On the ground, they would be more reasonable. Veltar looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, the human homeworld. He had never seen it, but he knew it. Now by reputation, the planet that had raised a species that could turn war into something beautiful and terrible. I was wrong about many things in those days, he said to the recording device. But I was right about one thing. To understand how humans fight, you have to understand how they live. And what I learned changed everything I thought I knew about war, about courage, and about what it means to be alive. The recording device beeped softly, marking the end of the first part of his testimony. Veltar looked at the device for a long moment, then pressed the button to stop recording. Tomorrow he would continue his story. Tomorrow he would tell them about Proxima Ridge. But tonight, he would try to sleep without dreaming of human ships flying into the fire. Veltar activated the recording device again. His crystal fingers moved more steadily today. The doctors said his body was healing well, but they could not fix what was broken in his mind. Some scars went deeper than flesh and crystal. This is the second day of my testimony. Yesterday I told you about the first battle with the humans. Today I will tell you what happened when we reached their second world. The station was quieter today. Through his window, Veltar could see human and alien ships working together to move cargo. 3 months ago, such cooperation would have seemed impossible. Now it was normal. The humans had changed everything. The world was called New Sol. It had been settled by humans from something called Korea on Earth. The planet was mostly ocean, with islands scattered across its surface. 2 million humans lived there. mostly in cities built on the larger islands. Veltar's body glowed softly as he remembered. General Thrak was confident this time. He had studied the battle at Kepler 442b and thought he understood human tactics. "They are brave but stupid," he told me. "They waste ships and lives for no gain. We will show them proper strategy." The general had 800 ships for this battle. The humans had 43. He arranged his forces in a perfect formation. Heavy ships in the center, medium ships on the flanks, fighters spread in a defensive screen. It was exactly what the military academies taught. The crystal being stood and moved to the window again. A human maintenance worker was repairing something on the station's hull. The human wore only a thin spacesuit but moved with easy confidence in the vacuum. Veltar had learned that humans were like that. They made dangerous things look simple. I was on the observation deck of the CNS Eternal when the human fleet arrived. They came out of faster-than-light travel scattered across a huge area. No formation at all. General Thrak laughed. "Look at them," he said. "No discipline, no order. We will destroy them in detail." The human fleet was led by someone called Commander Sol. I had read her file. She was young for a fleet commander, only 35 years old. She had been a merchant ship captain before the war started. The coalition generals thought this proved humans did not take war seriously. Veltar's reflection in the window looked tired. Commander Sol's flagship was a converted cargo hauler. It should not have been in a battle at all. But when she spoke, to her fleet her voice was calm and sure. "Remember why we fight," she told them. "These are our people, our world, our choice." The first thing the humans did was split into 6 groups. Each group went after a different part of our formation. General Thrak was pleased. "They are dividing their forces," he said. "Basic mistake. We will defeat them one piece at a time." But the humans were not making a mistake. Each group attacked in a different way. Some came in fast and low. Others approached slowly like they were giving up. A third group just sat still and waited. General Thrak tried to respond to all of them at once, but his perfect formation began to break apart. The reporter returned to his bed and sat down. The group that sat still was the key. They were led by a captain named Jin. She had 40 fighters and 2 small destroyers. Too small to threaten our main battle line, so General Thrak ignored them. That was his mistake. When our formation was stretched out, chasing the other human groups, Captain Jin's forces moved. They went straight for our command ship, not to destroy it, but to get close to it. As close as possible. Veltar's crystal body flickered with remembered fear. I was watching from my press ship when Captain Jin's destroyer reached the CNS Eternal. Instead of firing its weapons, it opened all its docking bays and launched everything inside. Fighters, shuttles, cargo pods, even lifeboats. All of them headed for our ship. Our defensive guns shot down most of them, but a few got through. They crashed into our hull and exploded. Small explosions. Not enough to destroy a ship our size, but that was not the point. The point was what came after. The crystal being's voice grew quieter. Each of those ships and pods contained humans, not weapons, people. They came through the holes in our hull wearing spacesuits and carrying handheld weapons. They were boarding us. I had read about boarding actions in history books, ancient warfare when ships were made of wood and metal. No one did that anymore. Modern ships had too many defenses, it was impossible. But the humans did it anyway. 50 humans got inside the CNS Eternal. They should have been killed in minutes. Instead, they started taking control of our ship, section by section. Veltar looked at his hands. His crystal fingers could remember the weight of the emergency weapon he had carried that day. General Thrak ordered all available crew to fight the boarders. I followed with my camera, thinking I would document a quick coalition victory. Instead, I saw something that changed how I understood war. The humans moved through our ship like they belonged there. They knew exactly where to go and what to do. Later, I learned they had studied captured coalition ships for months, learning every detail of our design. They turned our own ship against us. Sergeant Dow led the boarding party. He was a big man with scars on his face and hands. He moved, through our corridors like he was taking a walk in a park. When Coalition soldiers shot at him, he just smiled and shot back. He seemed to enjoy the danger. The reporter's body dimmed as he remembered. I watched Sergeant Dahl and his team take control of our engine room. They did not try to destroy the engines, they reprogrammed them. Suddenly, the CNS Eternal was moving toward the human planet, and we could not stop it. General Thrak screamed, orders at his crew, but nothing worked. The humans had locked out our controls. We were passengers on our own ship, and we were heading straight for New Sol's orbital defense platforms. That was when I realized what the humans had done. The whole battle was a trick. All those scattered groups, all those different attacks, they were just there to distract us while Captain Jin's people took our command ship. Now they were going to use it as a weapon against their own planet. Veltar stood up again, his crystal body catching the light from the station's artificial sun. The orbital platforms opened fire on us, Coalition weapons hitting a Coalition ship. General Thrak tried to surrender, but the humans on board would not let him transmit. They had come to die, and they were going to take us with them. I thought we were all going to die. The platforms were designed to stop human ships, not Coalition dreadnoughts, but they had time to charge their biggest weapons. I could see the energy building up as we got closer. Then Sergeant Dahl appeared in the command center. He was wounded and his spacesuit was torn, but he was still smiling. He looked at General Thrak and said something I will never forget. You came to our world, you threatened our people. Now you get to see what happens when you make humans angry. The crystal being's voice became very quiet. Sergeant Dahl had a detonator in his hand. The humans had brought explosives with them, not just any explosives, nuclear charges, enough to turn the CNS Eternal into a small sun. General Thrak begged him not to do it. He offered to surrender, to leave human space, to give them anything they wanted. Sergeant Dahl just shook his head. Too late for that, he said. You should have stayed home. I thought he was going to press the button. I thought we were all going to die in nuclear fire. Instead, Commander Saul's voice came through the ship's communication system. She was still alive, still fighting out there in space. Dahl, she said, the job is done. Come home. Veltar looked out at the stars. Sergeant Dahl looked at the detonator for a long moment. Then he smiled again and threw it to General Thrak. Your lucky day, he told him. The commander says we have made our point. The humans released control of our ship and surrendered. All 50 of them, including Sergeant Dahl. They had done the impossible, taken control of our most powerful ship, and then given it back. Not because they had to, because their commander told them to. General Thrak ordered the fleet to withdraw. He said it was for repairs and resupply, but I knew the truth. He was scared. We all were. The humans had shown us that all our technology and training meant nothing if they were willing to die to beat us. The reporter sat down at his desk and picked up the recording device. After the battle, I interviewed some of the human prisoners. I asked Sergeant Dahl why he had not used the nuclear weapon, why he had let us live. He looked at me with those human eyes, so strange with the colored part around the black center, and said something I still do not understand. Because that would have been murder. We are not murderers. We are soldiers. I asked him what the difference was. He thought about it for a while, then said, soldiers fight to protect something. Murderers fight to destroy something. We fight to protect our people and our choice to be free. You fight to make us into something we are not. Veltar's crystal body glowed brighter as he finished the day's recording. I did not understand what he meant then. I thought war was war no matter who fought it or why. I thought the humans were just better at killing than we expected. I was wrong. The humans were not better at killing. They were better at choosing what to die for, and that made them the most dangerous enemy the Coalition had ever faced. He turned off the recording device and looked out at the human ships, moving through space near the station. Tomorrow he would tell them about the ground war, about Proxima Ridge, about the day he learned what humans could. The recording device waited on Veltar's desk like a small, patient animal. 3 days of testimony, and the hardest parts were still to come. Today, he would have to tell them about Proxima Ridge, about the ground war, about the day he learned that humans could turn hell itself into a weapon. This is war correspondent Veltar, beginning the third day of my testimony. What I'm about to tell you happened on Proxima Ridge, a frozen world at the edge of human space. It was there that I finally understood what we were truly fighting. Veltar moved to his window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Proxima Ridge was still spinning around its cold sun. The battlefield was quiet now, but the scars remained. They would remain for 1,000 years. After the defeats at Kepler 442b and New Sol, the Coalition High Command made a decision. No more space battles, no more chances for human tricks and surprises. We would take their worlds from the ground up, planet by planet, until they surrendered. The crystal being's body dimmed as he remembered. Proxima Ridge was chosen because it seemed like the easiest target. The planet was mostly ice and rock. The temperature never rose above freezing, even at the equator. Only 50,000 humans lived there, mostly miners and researchers. General Vexkan commanded the ground assault. He was a Throsian, from a desert world where the temperature reached 200 degrees. He looked at Proxima Ridge's frozen surface and laughed. Humans are warm-blooded creatures, he said. This cold will kill them faster than our weapons. Veltar returned to his desk and sat down. I requested permission to embed with the ground forces. I wanted to see how humans fought when they could not run away, when they had to stand and defend their homes with their feet on solid ground. The Coalition landing force was massive, 200,000 troops from 6 different species, tanks, aircraft, orbital support. Everything needed to take a world from a small group of human colonists. We landed at the North Pole, where the humans had their biggest mining complex. Intelligence said they had maybe 5,000 defenders, lightly armed civilian miners, not real soldiers. General Vexkan planned to take the complex in one day. The reporter's crystal fingers drummed against the desk. I rode in the command vehicle with General Vexkan as we approached the mining complex. Through the thick windows, I could see the human settlement. Small buildings scattered around huge excavation sites. It looked empty and peaceful. That should have been our first warning. Where were the defenders? Where were the guns and fortifications? General Vexkan was pleased. He thought the humans had already fled. He ordered the assault to begin. The first wave of coalition troops advanced across the ice toward the mining complex. I watched through my camera as they reached the first buildings. Empty. All of them. The humans were gone. Veltar's body flickered as he remembered what came next. Then the ice exploded. The humans had not fled. They had gone underground. The entire mining complex was connected by tunnels carved deep into the frozen ground. Tunnels we could not see from orbit. Tunnels filled with human soldiers. They came up through the floor of every building our troops had entered. They came up through cracks in the ice. They came up from places where there should have been solid ground. Suddenly our assault force was surrounded by enemies they could not see. The crystal being stood and began to pace. The leader of the human defense was Colonel Dal. I learned later that he had been a mining engineer before the war. He knew every tunnel, every cave, every crack in the rock under that ice. Colonel Dal's troops moved through those tunnels like they were their own homes. They could appear anywhere, attack, and disappear before we could respond. Our soldiers were stumbling around on the surface, freezing and confused, while the humans controlled everything underneath. I watched from the command vehicle as General Vexkan tried to make sense of the battle. His troops were reporting contact everywhere and nowhere. They would see human soldiers fire at them and find nothing but ice when they reached the spot. Veltar stopped pacing and looked out the window again. The cold was killing us. Our equipment was designed for normal temperatures, not the frozen wasteland of Proxima Ridge. Weapons jammed, vehicles broke down, soldiers moved slowly in their thick environmental suits. The humans wore lighter clothes and moved faster. I saw one human soldier, a woman called Major Yoon, leading a patrol across the ice wearing nothing but a thin coat and boots. She was smiling. The cold that was killing us was just another day for her. General Vexcon called for orbital bombardment. If we could not dig the humans out of their tunnels, we would collapse the tunnels on top of them. The fleet began targeting the mining complex with heavy weapons. The reporter sat down again, his crystal body glowing with remembered emotion. That was when I learned something important about human engineering. The tunnels were not just hiding places. They were fortresses. The humans had been digging them for decades, reinforcing them, preparing them for exactly this kind of attack. The orbital bombardment brought down some tunnels, but it opened up others. New passages appeared in the ice, new places for humans to hide and attack from. We were not destroying their defenses. We were helping them build new ones. Colonel Dahl's voice came over the radio frequencies that night. All our equipment picked it up. He was speaking to his troops, but he made sure we could hear too. They think the cold is their enemy, he said. Show them who the real enemy is. Veltar's voice grew quieter. That night the temperature dropped to 50 degrees below freezing. Our environmental systems were failing. Soldiers were getting frostbite even inside their heated suits. General Vexcon ordered everyone to stay in their vehicles and wait for morning. The humans came for us, in the dark. They moved across the ice like ghosts, wearing clothes that should not have kept them warm. They attacked our vehicles with handheld weapons and explosives. They cut our supply lines and communication cables. I was in the command vehicle when Sergeant Bow appeared outside our window. He was a small human, maybe half the size of General Vexcon, wearing a simple white coat. He looked at us through the thick glass and waved. Then he placed an explosive charge on the side of our vehicle and walked away. The explosion did not kill us, but it damaged our heating system. Suddenly, we were as cold as the humans, and we discovered something that changed everything. Being cold was not the worst thing that could happen to us. Being afraid was worse. The crystal being's body dimmed to almost nothing. The siege lasted 2 weeks. Every day, more coalition soldiers were wounded or killed. Not just from fighting, but from the cold, from accidents, from fear. The humans seemed to get stronger while we got weaker. I saw human medics running through fire to save wounded coalition soldiers. A doctor called Young risked her life to treat our wounded when her own people needed help. When I asked her why, she said, "Because they are hurt, and I am a doctor." I saw human soldiers sharing their food with coalition prisoners. Sergeant Jew gave his coat to a Throsian trooper who was dying of cold. When the Throsian asked why, Jew said, "Because you are far from home, and home is where you should be warm." Veltar looked at the recording device. Its small red light had been blinking for an hour, recording every word of his testimony. These were our enemies, people we had come to conquer, but they acted like friends who were angry with us for making bad choices. The battle ended when Coalition High Command ordered a full retreat from Proxima Ridge. We had lost 30,000 troops. The humans had lost maybe 3,000, but the numbers were not the real defeat. The real defeat was what happened to our soldiers afterward. They came back changed. They did not want to fight humans anymore. They had seen how humans lived, how they cared for each other, how they treated their enemies. Some of our troops asked for transfers to other fronts. Others quit the military entirely. A few even requested asylum in human space. General Vexcon had to be relieved of command because he could not stop talking about Major Eun and how she had smiled at him when she captured his forward base. The crystal being stood up and moved to the window one last time. I stayed on Proxima Ridge for 3 days after the retreat. I wanted to interview the human survivors. I wanted to understand how they had beaten us so completely. Colonel Dahl met me at the entrance to the mining complex. He looked tired but not defeated. When I asked him how his people had survived the siege, he said something I will never forget. "This is our home," he told me. "We know every rock, every tunnel, every piece of ice on this world. You came here as invaders. We live here as family. Family will always fight harder than invaders." Veltar's reflection in the window looked older than it had 3 days ago. I asked him if he hated us for what we had done, for the soldiers we had killed, for the damage to his world. He thought about it for a long time. "I do not hate you," he said finally, "but I pity you. You travel between the stars, but you do not understand what makes a star worth traveling to. You can take worlds, but you cannot make homes. That is why you will always lose to us in the end. The reporter returned to his desk and picked up the recording device. I did not understand what he meant then. I thought he was just being philosophical. It took me months to realize he was. Veltar's crystal body caught the morning light as he prepared for another day of testimony. His reflection in the window looked clearer now, stronger. The doctors said he was healing well, but they did not understand that some healing came from telling the truth even when the truth was hard to bear. This is War Correspondent Veltar, fourth day of testimony. Today I will tell you about Firebase Delta and the siege that changed how the Coalition understood the word honor. The recording device hummed softly on his desk. Through his window, Veltar could see human children playing in the station's recreation area. They laughed and ran and fought mock battles with toy weapons. Even their children played at war, but they played at protecting each other, not conquering enemies. After the defeat at Proxima Ridge, Coalition High Command decided to try a different approach. Instead of massive invasions, they would establish small bases on human worlds, fortified positions that could not be tunneled under or surrounded, places where Coalition technology and firepower would give us the advantage. Veltar moved to his desk and sat down. Firebase Delta was built on a human world called Haven. The planet was mostly farmland and small towns, peaceful, the kind of place where families raised children and grew old together. The base was a masterpiece of military engineering: energy shields, automated defenses, underground bunkers, orbital communication arrays. It could house 5,000 Coalition troops and had supplies for 6 months. General Kessevar called it absolutely impregnable. The crystal being's body flickered as he remembered. The base was commanded by Captain May, a human officer who had surrendered when we first occupied Haven. She had taken an oath to serve the Coalition in exchange for the safety of her people. Many humans had made such oaths in those days. I was assigned to document the success of the new strategy. The Coalition wanted to show that humans could be reasonable, that they could work with us when they understood the benefits of cooperation. Captain May was supposed to be proof of that. She was a small woman, maybe 40 years old, with gray streaks in her dark hair. She spoke softly and moved carefully like someone who was always thinking 3 steps ahead. The Coalition generals treated her like a pet, someone to be praised when she obeyed orders. Veltar's voice grew quieter. I should have paid more attention to her eyes. Human eyes show emotion in ways that alien eyes do not. Captain May's eyes were always watching, always calculating. She was not a pet. She was a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. The siege began 6 months after the base was completed. We did not know it was starting. The first sign was when supply ships from orbit stopped arriving. Then communication with the fleet went silent. We were alone on Haven, cut off from the rest of the Coalition. General Kessevar was not worried. The base had enough supplies for months, and the energy shields could stop any weapon the humans had. Let them surround us, he said. We are safe here. They will get tired of waiting and go away. The reporter stood and walked to the window. The human force that surrounded Firebase Delta was small, maybe 2,000 fighters led by someone called Colonel Ray. Intelligence said she had been a schoolteacher before the war. The Coalition generals laughed at the idea of being besieged by a teacher and her students. Colonel Ray's first message to the base was simple. You are on our world, in our space, threatening our people. Leave now and you will not be harmed. Stay and face the consequences. General Kessevar sent back a message telling her to surrender or be destroyed. Colonel Ray's reply was even simpler. No. Veltar returned to his desk, his crystal body glowing with remembered tension. The first attack came at dawn on the 3rd day. Not an assault on the base, but something much more clever. The humans attacked the base's waste processing facility. It sounds silly, but waste processing is vital for any military base. Without it, living conditions become impossible very quickly. The humans damaged our systems in ways that made them work, but work badly. Suddenly, Firebase Delta smelled like a garbage dump. General Kessevar ordered repairs, but every repair team that left the base was attacked by human snipers. Not killed, just wounded and forced to retreat. The humans wanted us alive but miserable. They wanted us to think about leaving. The second attack targeted our water recycling system. Again, not destroyed, just damaged. Now we had limited clean water and a base that smelled terrible. General Kesevar was getting angry, but he still thought the humans were just being annoying. The crystal being's body dimmed as he remembered what came next. The third attack was different. The humans went after our power generators, not the main ones, but the backup systems. Suddenly, half the base was in darkness at night. That was when I realized what Colonel Ray was doing. She was not trying to destroy the base. She was trying to make it unlivable. She was forcing us to choose between staying in horrible conditions or leaving the planet entirely. I interviewed some of the Coalition soldiers during this time. They were starting to complain about the smell, the limited water, the dark corridors. Some were asking when they could rotate back to their home worlds. Morale was falling exactly as Colonel Ray had planned. Veltar's voice grew softer. Then Captain May made her move. She had been quiet during the first weeks of the siege, following orders and managing the base's daily operations. But I noticed she was spending a lot of time with the junior officers, especially the ones who were getting frustrated with the conditions. One night, the base's main communication array exploded. Not from outside attack, but from inside. Someone had sabotaged it from within. General Kesevar ordered an investigation but found nothing. No evidence, no witnesses, no clues. The next morning, Captain May was gone. So were 200 Coalition soldiers, nearly half the base's garrison. They had left during the night, taking their weapons and equipment with them. The ones who stayed said they had volunteered for transfer to other duties. General Kesevar was furious. He called Captain May a traitor and ordered her arrest if she ever returned to the base. But I knew better. She had not forced those soldiers to leave. She had simply given them a choice, and they had chosen to go. The reporter looked at the recording device. The soldiers who left did not join the human resistance. They simply went home. Back to their ships, back to their worlds, back to their families. They were done fighting a war they did not understand against people who had never threatened them. That left 3,000 Coalition troops in Firebase Delta, surrounded by humans who seemed to know their every move. The siege continued, but now it was different. The humans were not just attacking our equipment, they were attacking our will to fight. Colonel Ray began broadcasting messages to the base every day, not threats or demands, but simple statements about why she was fighting. "This is our world," she would say. "These are our homes, our families, our children. We will never stop defending them." Veltar's crystal body brightened as he continued. Some of the Coalition soldiers began to listen to those broadcasts. They started asking questions about why they were there, what they were trying to accomplish. General Kesevar banned the broadcasts, but the soldiers found ways to hear them. Anyway, the siege lasted 4 months. Every day, more Coalition soldiers chose to leave. Not because they were afraid of dying, but because they were tired of living in misery for a cause they did not believe in. By the end, only 800 troops remained in Firebase Delta. The final assault came on a clear spring morning. I was on the observation deck of the command center when I saw them coming. 2,000 human fighters advancing across the fields toward the base. They were not running or hiding. They were walking steadily forward, like people going to work. General Kesevar activated all the base's defenses, energy weapons, missile launchers, automated gun towers. Everything we had. The humans kept walking. Some fell, but others took their place. They advanced like a tide that nothing could stop. The crystal being's voice became very quiet. Then I saw Captain May. She was walking at the front of the human line, wearing a simple uniform with no rank insignia. She looked up at the command center where General Kesevar and I were watching, and she waved, like she was greeting an old friend. The human assault broke through our perimeter in 6 places at once. Our remaining soldiers fought bravely, but they were overwhelmed by enemies who knew exactly where to attack and how to move through the base. Within 2 hours, Firebase Delta had fallen. General Kesevar tried to surrender, but Colonel Ray would not accept. "You surrendered when you chose to leave our world," she told him. "Now you are just prisoners waiting to go home." Veltar stood up and moved to the window again. After the battle, I interviewed Captain May about her decision to abandon the Coalition. She looked tired but satisfied, like someone who had finished a difficult but necessary job. I asked her why she had betrayed the oath she had made to serve the Coalition. She smiled at that. "I never betrayed anything," she said. "I swore to protect my people, and that is exactly what I did. The Coalition just assumed that meant I would help you conquer them." I asked her if she felt guilty about the soldiers who had died in the assault. She thought about that for a long time. "I feel sorry for them," she said finally. "They died far from home for something they did not understand. That is, the recording device waited on Veltar's desk like a patient witness to history. 5 days of testimony, and now he had reached the hardest part, the final battle. The day everything changed forever, the day he learned that some species become most dangerous when they have nothing left to lose. This is War Correspondent Veltar, beginning the 5th day of my testimony. Today I will tell you about the Battle of Proxima Ridge and the arrival of Admiral Hyun's fleet. What happened that day broke the Coalition's will to fight and change the balance of power in the galaxy. Veltar's crystal body was steady now, stronger than it had been in months. Through his window, he could see human and Coalition ships working together to build a new space station. 3 months ago, such cooperation would have been impossible. Today, it was the future. After the failure of our ground campaigns, Coalition High Command decided on a final strategy. If we could not take human worlds piece by piece, we would force them to surrender all at once. We would gather every available ship and attack their most important colony, Proxima Ridge. The reporter moved to his desk and activated the recording device. Proxima Ridge had become a symbol for both sides. The Coalition saw it as the place where our ground forces had been humiliated. The humans saw it as proof that they could defeat any enemy on their home ground. Admiral Zekmon commanded the largest fleet the Coalition had ever assembled. 1,000 ships from 7 different species. The entire military might have an alliance that controlled half the galaxy. It should have been enough to defeat any enemy. The human defense fleet was smaller, maybe 300 ships led by Admiral Hyun. I had studied her record during the voyage to Proxima Ridge. She was older than most human commanders, nearly 60 years old. She had been fighting the Coalition for 2 years, winning battles that should have been impossible. Veltar's body flickered as he remembered that day. I was on the bridge of the CNS Dominator when we arrived at Proxima Ridge. The planet hung in space before us, white and blue and beautiful. It looked peaceful, like a place where children might play in gardens and families might gather for meals. Admiral Zekmon was confident. He had overwhelming numerical superiority, the best technology in the galaxy and the element of surprise. Intelligence said the human fleet was scattered across their territory, fighting smaller Coalition forces. Proxima Ridge should have been lightly defended. Intelligence was wrong. Admiral Hyun's entire fleet was waiting for us. The crystal being stood and moved to the window. The human ships were arranged in a sphere around their planet, not the flat formations we expected. Every ship was pointing outward, ready to fight in any direction. It was a defensive position, but not a passive one. Admiral Zekmon ordered the fleet to attack immediately. He did not want to give the humans time to call for reinforcements or prepare additional defenses. The Coalition ships moved forward in perfect formation, just as we had been trained. That was when I realized the humans had been expecting us. They did not scramble to respond or try to run away. They just waited like predators watching prey walk into a trap. Veltar returned to his desk, his crystal fingers tracing patterns in the light. The battle began when we reached weapons range. Admiral Zekmon ordered all ships to fire at once. 1,000 Coalition vessels opened up with everything they had. The space around Proxima Ridge lit up like a star being born. The humans fired, back with half as many ships, but their targeting was perfect. Every shot hit something vital: command centers, weapon systems, engine cores. They were not trying to destroy our ships quickly. They were trying to disable them systematically. I watched through my camera feed as human fighters swarmed through the Coalition formation. They moved like they were dancing, weaving between our ships with impossible precision. Every move was coordinated with every other move, like they were all part of one giant mind. Admiral Hyun's flagship was an old battle cruiser called the Soul. It should not have been a match for any of our dreadnoughts, but it moved through the battle like it owned the space around it. Every shot it fired hit home. Every maneuver put it in exactly the right place at the right time. The reporter's voice grew quieter. Then I saw something that changed how I understood warfare. A human destroyer called the Busan was surrounded by 6 coalition cruisers. It should have been destroyed in minutes. Instead, it did something no rational captain would attempt. Captain Yun, the destroyer's commander, ordered his ship to ram the nearest coalition vessel. Not a desperate suicide attack, but a calculated maneuver. The Busan hit the cruiser at exactly the right angle to disable it without destroying either ship. Then it used the collision to bounce toward the next target. The destroyer bounced from ship to ship like a ball in a game, using each impact to change direction and speed. Within 10 minutes, all 6 coalition cruisers were disabled, and the Busan was still fighting. I had never seen anything like it. Veltar's crystal body brightened as he continued. Admiral Zekmon was screaming orders, trying to restore order to the battle. But the coalition formation was falling apart. The humans were not fighting like a fleet. They were fighting like a single organism with 300 arms. That was when Admiral Hyun did something that should have been tactically impossible. She ordered her entire fleet to contract into a tight sphere around Proxima Ridge. Every human ship moved inward at the same time, drawing the coalition forces after them. Admiral Zekmon saw this as an opportunity. If the humans wanted to cluster together, he would destroy them all at once. He ordered the coalition fleet to surround the human sphere and fire everything at point-blank range. We moved in from all sides, closing the trap around the human fleet. 1,000 coalition ships against 300 human vessels at close range. It should have been a massacre. Instead, it became our worst nightmare. The crystal being's voice became very quiet. The moment our ships reached close range, the human sphere exploded outward. Not falling apart, but expanding like a flower blooming in fast motion. Suddenly, every coalition ship had multiple human vessels attacking it from different angles. The humans had turned our own trap against us. By drawing us in close, they had eliminated our advantage in long-range weapons. Now it was a knife fight, and humans were very good with knives. I watched Captain Jay's fighter squadron weave through the coalition battle line like needles through cloth. They hit our ships in places we did not know were vulnerable, causing cascading system failures that spread from ship to ship. Veltar moved to the window again, looking out at the peaceful stars. The battle turned into chaos. Coalition ships were colliding with each other, firing at their own allies by mistake, running out of ammunition as they tried to hit human vessels that moved too fast to track. Admiral Hyun's voice came over all frequencies at that moment, not threatening or boasting, just calm and sure. "This is Admiral Hyun of the Human Defense Force," she said. "You came to our home. You threatened our people. Now you will learn why that was a mistake." The human fleet began to sing, all of them, every ship, broadcasting music on the same frequency. It was unlike anything I had ever heard. Beautiful and terrible at the same time, like the sound of stars being born or worlds dying. The music had an effect on our crews. Some stopped fighting and just listened. Others became confused, unable to concentrate on their duties. A few even tried to surrender, overcome by the beauty and sadness of the human songs. The reporter returned to his desk and sat down heavily. That was when I realized we had lost. Not just the battle, but the war. The humans were not just better fighters than we had thought. They were fighting a completely different kind of war. We fought for territory, for resources, for political advantage. The humans fought for something we did not understand. They fought for the right to sing their songs, to raise their children, to choose their own path among the stars. Admiral Zekmon ordered a retreat when half the coalition fleet was disabled or destroyed. The surviving ships limped away from Proxima Ridge, leaving behind the wreckage of the mightiest armada in galactic history. But the humans did not pursue us. They could have finished us off, could have destroyed every coalition ship in the system. Instead, they let us go. Admiral Hyun's final message was simple: "Go home, do not come back." Veltar picked up the recording device and held it close. I was wounded when the CNS Dominator was hit by debris from an exploding ship. Human. Rescue teams found me floating in an escape pod 3 days later. They brought me to their medical station and saved my life. I asked the human doctor why they had bothered to rescue enemy wounded, why they had let our fleet escape when they could have destroyed us completely. She looked at me with those strange human eyes and said something I will never forget. Because we are not monsters, she told me. We fight to protect what we love, not to destroy what we hate. When you stop threatening what we love, we stop fighting you. It is that simple. The crystal being's reflection in the window looked older and wiser than it had a week ago. The Battle of Proxima Ridge ended the war between the Coalition and humanity, not with a surrender or a treaty, but with understanding. We finally Realm. Veltar's crystal body caught the morning light one last time as he prepared for the final day of his testimony. 6 days of truth-telling, and now he would finish the story that had changed his life and the fate of the galaxy. The story of what happened after the war ended. This is War Correspondent Veltar, final day of testimony. Today I will tell you about the aftermath of the human war and what I learned about the true meaning of victory. The recording device hummed softly on his desk, faithful and patient as always. Through his window, Veltar could see the construction of the new Galactic Council building. Humans and aliens worked side by side, building something that had never existed before, a place where all species could meet as equals. The war ended not with a surrender, but with silence. After the battle of Proxima Ridge, the Coalition High Command issued no more orders to attack human space. No treaties were signed, no terms were negotiated. The fighting simply stopped. Veltar moved to his desk and sat down carefully. I spent 3 weeks in the human medical station recovering from my wounds. During that time, I had many conversations with the humans who had saved my life. I wanted to understand how they could be so fierce in battle and so gentle in peace. Dr. Young, the physician who treated me, explained it this way. We fight like demons when someone threatens our families. But when the threat is gone, we go back to being doctors and teachers and farmers. War is not who we are. It is just something we do when we have no other choice. I asked her how humans could switch so quickly between war and peace. Most species took years to adjust after major conflicts. She smiled at that question. Because we fight for specific things, she said. Our homes, our children, our freedom to choose our own path. When those things are safe, there is no need to keep fighting. The crystal being's body glowed softly as he continued. Captain May visited me during my recovery. She had been promoted to major after the war ended and was working on something called the Integration Protocol, a plan for humans and coalition species to work together. I told her I was surprised that humans would want to cooperate with people who had tried to conquer them. She looked puzzled by that. Why would we hold grudges? She asked. You were following orders from leaders who made bad decisions. Now those leaders are gone, and you are free to make better choices. Major May introduced me to other human officers who had fought in the war. Commander Nara, who had led fighter squadrons at New Sol, Colonel Ray, who had besieged Firebase, Delta, Captain Yun, whose destroyer had bounced between enemy ships like a ball in a game. Veltar's voice grew warmer. None of them seemed angry about the war. They talked about it like any other job they had done, important work that had needed to be finished. Now it was over, and they had moved on to other tasks. Commander Nara was teaching alien pilots how to fly human-designed ships. The war taught us that different species think about flying in different ways, she explained. Now we can learn from each other and become better pilots together. Colonel Ray had become an engineer, helping to rebuild the worlds that had been damaged during the fighting. Destroying things is easy, she told me. Building things that last, that is the real challenge. The reporter stood and moved to the window. I asked Captain Yun about his famous bouncing maneuver during the final battle. He laughed at that. It was not skill, he said. It was desperation. I ran out of conventional tactics and had to try something crazy. I am just lucky it worked. But Then he became serious. The important thing was not the maneuver itself, he said. It was the trust my crew had in me. They followed orders that should have killed us all because they believed I would find a way to keep them alive. That trust is worth more than any tactical innovation. This was the key to understanding humans, I realized. They fought as individuals, but they trusted as a group. Every human soldier knew that their comrades would die to protect them, and they would die to protect their comrades in return. That bond made them unbeatable. Veltar returned to his desk and picked up the recording device. 3 months after the war ended, I received an invitation that changed my life. The newly formed Galactic Council wanted me to serve as the official liaison between human and coalition cultures. They wanted someone who had seen the war from both sides. I accepted the position and moved to Harmony Point, this neutral station, where different species could meet and work together. It was here that I began to understand the true scope of what the humans had accomplished. They had not just won a war. They had changed the entire structure of galactic civilization. Before the human conflict, the coalition ruled through superior technology and overwhelming force. After it, no species could be conquered against its will. The humans had proven that a smaller, less advanced civilization could defeat a galactic superpower if it was fighting for the right reasons. Every oppressed species in the galaxy took note of that lesson. The crystal being's body brightened as he continued. Within 6 months of the war's end, 12 species had declared independence from various galactic empires. Most of these rebellions succeeded because the empires were afraid of facing another enemy like humanity. The humans did not start these rebellions, but they supported them. They shared their military tactics, their organizational methods, their philosophy of fighting for freedom, rather than conquest. They became teachers instead of conquerors. Admiral Hune was elected as the first human representative to the Galactic Council. At her inauguration ceremony, she said something that has become famous throughout the galaxy. We did not fight to prove we were strong. We fought to prove we were free. Now we offer that same freedom to anyone who wants it. Veltar's voice grew softer as he approached the end of his testimony. I have spent the last 3 months working with humans every day. They are not perfect. They argue among themselves, they make mistakes, they sometimes act without thinking. But they have something most species have lost. They have hope. They believe that tomorrow can be better than today if they work hard enough to make it so. They believe that every person, regardless of species or origin, deserves the chance to choose their own destiny. The War Crimes Tribunal that followed the conflict was run according to human principles of justice. Coalition officers who had committed atrocities were tried and punished. But officers who had simply followed orders were pardoned and allowed to return home. General Zekmon, who had commanded the final assault on Proxima Ridge, was given the choice between prison and community service. He chose service and now works with human engineers to design better life support systems for space stations. The reporter looked out at the stars one last time. The galaxy is different now because of what happened in human space. Not because humans conquered it, but because they showed everyone what was possible when people fought for what they loved instead of what they feared. The coalition still exists, but it is no longer an empire. It has become what it always claimed to be. An alliance of free species working together for mutual benefit. The humans did not destroy our civilization. They saved it from itself. Veltar returned to his desk and held the recording device close. I end my testimony with a warning and a promise. The warning is for anyone who might think about threatening human freedom in the future. You will lose. Not because humans are better warriors, but because they are willing to pay any price to remain free. The promise is for anyone who wants to build a better galaxy. The humans will help you, not because they want to rule you, but because they believe freedom is a gift that grows stronger when it is shared. I have seen human warriors turn planets into battlefields. I have seen human builders turn battlefields into gardens. I have seen human teachers turn enemies into friends. They are the most dangerous and the most generous species I have ever encountered. The crystal being's body dimmed as he finished his testimony. The human war front was Inferno, yes, but from that, fire came light. The light of hope, of freedom, of the possibility that different species can live together without one ruling over the others. This is war correspondent Veltar, ending my testimony. I have told you the truth about the human war as I witnessed it. What you do with that truth is your choice. Choose wisely. He turned off the recording device and sat in the quiet of his room. Outside his window, human children were still playing in the recreation area. But now they were playing with alien children, laughing together in a dozen different languages, building games that no single species could have imagined alone. Veltar picked up a small object from his desk, a gift from Major May before he left the medical station. It was a human flower, preserved in crystal with a note that read, "For understanding that enemies can become friends and friends can build anything they dream of together." The crystal flower caught the light and threw rainbow patterns across the walls of his room, beautiful patterns that could only exist when different elements worked together in harmony. It was, Veltar thought, a perfect symbol for what the galaxy had become, a place where the fire of conflict had been transformed into the light of hope. And in that light, anything was possible.